This is TWiT.
Wall Street Journal article. Actually, this one I'm throwing to you, Georgia, because you're an expert in this. So apparently, doctors are starting to get an unusual number of young girls coming in saying they've got tics, facial tics. Movement disorder doctors were stumped at first, writes the Wall Street Journal. Girls with tics are rare, and these teens had an unusually high number of them, which had developed suddenly. After months of studying the patients and consulting with one another, experts at top pediatric hospitals in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and the U.K. discovered most of the girls had something in common: TikTok. According to a spate of recent medical journals articles, doctors say the girls had been watching videos of TikTok influencers who said they had Tourette syndrome. And is this crazy? Is this just moral panic, or is this literally a thing? I mean, they say the Salem witch trials were a case of hysteria among adolescent girls.
I'm not going to say that there are no cases of that actually happening, that there's a contagion effect where there's someone that's popular and they have something, and then
you can't get Tourette's by seeing a video of it.
Well, it wouldn't actually be considered Tourette's, right? It would be considered a nervous or anxious tic. The problem is that anxiety can create tics anyway. So how do we know that they just don't? Because it's very common. Right?
Yeah, and find me a teenage girl who doesn't live on TikTok.
Exactly. So it becomes one of these things that just because that there's a correlation does not mean that it's a causation, right? So these girls probably also all read books, or all use.
They like French
music.
fries.
So
it's that's what's causing it. Yeah.
So I'm not so sure. Like, it's something that you need to kind of take a look at, but I think that it's more of one of those things that the article it could totally positively be, perhaps, but I don't think that that is something that I would be the first thing that I would think about. I would take a look and see what is their anxiety levels, what have they been doing, what have they been consuming, because I deal with so many people that have anxiety tics, and anxiety has been skyrocketing, right? After the pandemic, people being locked inside, spending a lot of time on social media.
Yeah.
It would be one of, and again, I probably see this more than others because I'm an anxiety therapist, so I would see anxiety more often, and someone else that deals with other things might, say that it could be something else. But I would probably look to, like, the straightest line is probably the truth. And it's just it's so very common to get tics when you feel anxiety.
Since March 2020, what happened in March 2020? Texas Children's Hospital has reported seeing approximately 60 teens with such tics, whereas in the past, 1 or 2 cases a year. Johns Hopkins University's Tourette's Center says 10 to 20% of pediatric patients have described acute onset tic-like behaviors, up from 2 to 3% a year before. But I think you're right. Anxiety is a problem in general, thanks to pandemic. What is weird is that there are a lot of TikToks with hashtag Tourette's. I guess because it's, I don't know why. Billions, literally.
It's again, Tourette's is something that people don't understand. It's very, very visual. You get a lot of very divergent, different types of reactions.
Right.
And so because of that, it would probably be considered more palatable to watch. And so if you like with TikTok, right? Like, so you're looking, you scroll, you starting to slow down. It's tracking that. And so because of that, you're going to get more videos that deal with that. And because it's going to be something that's kind of explosive and pops out and unexpected, you're probably going to pause more often. And so it feels your feed.
This one, there's no explanation for. This is in the same article. Movement disorders fellow Caroline Olvera noticed that numerous teens were saying the word beans, often in a British accent. Beans. Even patients who didn't speak English were saying it. Some patients mentioned they'd seen TikTok videos of others with tics. She created a TikTok account, started watching videos of teens and adults who said they had Tourette syndrome. She discovered that one top Tourette influencer was a Brit whose Tourette's manifested as often blurting out the word beans. She studied 3,000 TikTok videos, found that 19 of the 28 most followed Tourette influencers on TikTok reported developing new tics as a result of watching others' videos. We are very easily influenced, aren't we?
We have parts of the brain. We are mimics. Like, humans are mimics by nature. Right. We like to think that we're like making our own choices and dealing with that. But actually, for most of our development, we are just mimicking behavior.
Right.
And
That's
we
what
are
we
very
do.
strong mimics. So if you do have an influencer, or even if you hang out with people that speak with an accent, every once in a while you may say a word with an accent, or there's a lot of people that will just suddenly merge and chameleon into saying things.
I do that all the
not meaning
time.
to make fun of or mock. It's just they're submerged in that. And so that part of our brain that deals with mimicry, which we also have specialized neurons that just deal with mimicking behavior. Because of that, yes, an influencer that you like has a much greater influence. Like what you consume actually physically modifies your brain. And so I think that we do need to take a look at, we're very careful about what we consume in food. We need to be even more important and take a look at what we consume for our brains, because it is physically modifying the way that we feel about and what we do with things.
But people spend an average, I just saw a statistic that teenagers on average spent 3 or 4 hours a day on Instagram. When you're spending that much time doing anything, it's going to have an influence on you.
And think about that along with the fact that your prefrontal cortex, the part that deals with consequences to actions, is not developed.
Yeah.
So we end up with the parts of being able to be influenced. And when you're a teen, so when you're young, your greatest influence is your parents. But when you develop into teenagers, like again, we have 100,000-year-old brains in modern society, but our brain is still pretty much caveman. Not exactly, but pretty much caveman. And so...
what do you mean?
Go, Leo, go. And so that was the time that we left our tribe and went off with to create another tribe, was during our teen years. So our peers become the greatest amount of influence on our behavior and what we're going to choose to do.
New York Times.
And so you're spending all this time consuming social media, and that is modifying your brain without the thought of consequences, which only is fully developed at the age of 24.
Wow. I remember 24.